Bizarre Brain Comics. Hello, comics fans, and welcome to Bizarre Brain Comics. I'm Gary, your host, still smoking my ever-present pipe. I'm going to do something a little different this time. Okay. We all like to read comics. That's why we're here, right? The purpose in life. To read comics. Well, did you know that you don't have to have pictures to read comics? Well, yeah, that's what makes them comics. But the comic characters don't necessarily have to be in pictures. They've made movies, TV shows, and animated shows of these characters. And they also have some novels. I'm going to talk just a little bit about a few of these novels. Okay, in 1978, I remember I was so surprised and delighted when I was in a bookstore and I found, just out of boot camp, Navy boot camp, I had just gone to my, I was visiting folks in New Mexico. I had a bookstore in their little town. And looking through the bookstore, through the science fiction section, and this is what I found right here. I just happen to have 2 copies of this one. And this, of course, is Stan Lee presents The Amazing Spider-Man in his first full-length novel, Mayhem in Manhattan, by Len Wein and Marv Wolfman, with an introduction by Stan Lee. And yeah, it's a novel. See, it does have illustrated chapter heads. All just standard pictures. Come on, I just saw it. There it is. There's another one that they used for advertising and licensing and the like. And they're all look like John Romita artwork, who had, of course, did Spider-Man for years. And is my favorite Spider-Man artist. And this is a cover. This cover is a painted cover by Bob Larkin, who is probably best known to comics fans for doing so many of the painted covers for Savage Sword of Conan and Bizarre Heroes and the other some of the other black and white Marvel magazines. Let's see in the back here, The Amazing Spider-Man. I'm not going to go into that. And so this was the first of a series of 12, if I remember correctly, 12 of them. And I got all 12, and somehow I can't find them all. Buried away, but I got enough here. So I've got 8. 8 of them. And 2 copies of this one. And I've got the Hulk and Spidey as my bookends. And I don't remember what the second one was, but then we had the Hulk, the Incredible Hulk, Cry of the Beast, and comes smashing through the floor. And this was I couldn't find a credit on this one, and it doesn't look like Bob Larkin. It could be. I'm not positive. Had various cover artists for on these. But this is good. Now, this is at the time when the Hulk was real big on TV. And out of this series, they had, I don't know how many, had several Spider-Man and several Hulk, or a few, as opposed to just one of each of the other characters. And then they had at least one that was well, we'll get to that when we get to it. But one of the unusual things was about this novel in particular. The other one was just like in the comics, and I don't have it here. But the interesting thing about this one was this was at the time of the TV show. In this novel, the Hulk is presented a little more like in the TV show, but he was stronger. So he was kind of about half and half the comic book Hulk and half the TV Hulk. And I think it's a really, really good book. Who wrote this one? A novel by Richard S. Myers. I don't know him. And he did a decent job. And that was number 3. Here we have number 6, Iron Man, and Call My Killer MODOK. And this looks like Iron Man versus Iron Man. And of course, you know, MODOK is that being from who is the head of AIM. And again, this is another Bob Larkin painted cover. Doctor Strange, Nightmare, and this is also a Bob Larkin painted cover. This one is written by William Rotsler. Rotsler. And this is a pretty decent. This was actually my introduction to the character of Nightmare. I've never been a big follower of Doctor Strange. Still I haven't, but I like to pick one up every once in a while and read some of his stuff. And of course, we have Spider-Man in Crime Campaign, another Bob Larkin cover. Some of these I have shown when I did an episode on the characters, and this is Bob Larkin and written by Paul Cooperberg. Now, one of the interesting things about these books was that they had the onomatopoeia, just like in the comics. And for those who don't know that big word, the sound effects, like wham and kaslam and stuff like that. Here are the Marvel superheroes featuring the Hulk. And this cover was painted by Dave Cockrum. And the characters we have in here is, of course, the Hulk, because he was the mainstay from television, so he was supposed to be the big draw. The Avengers, and then the X-Men and Daredevil, who weren't so big and popular at that time. This is before the big X-Men wave of the 80s, and before Frank Miller got his mitts on Daredevil and made that title really popular. Okay, and then this kind of ties in with stuff that's going on now. This is The Avengers, The Man Who Stole Tomorrow. With I think this is another Bob Larkin cover. I can't be sure. No, it's not, and I don't see a credit. This is more of a comic book design to the figure, so it could be another Dave Cockrum. I don't know. Anyway, it's number 10. And the main villain in this, of course, is Kang the Conqueror from the future. Right. And which kind of goes on with, because coming up in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, as since they got rid of Oh, Purple Chin. Oh, I suddenly cannot think of his name. Anyway, since he's gone, they're bringing in Kang for the main villain. I like Kang as a villain. And then the last one I've got here is the Hulk and Spider-Man crossover, Murder Moon. And this one is also by Paul Kuperberg with another Bob Larkin painted cover. Pretty cool, huh? Yeah. Now, of course, they just did a year of this series, but it did not stay that way. Although it was many years. I always like to read books of the comic characters, yet they just didn't do them. Spidey doesn't want to hold up his part of the weight. There we go. And but several years later, I discovered I came across this. Knock 'em all over, dummy. The Avengers Battle the Earthwrecker. This is a novel from 1967. Yes. And it's written by Otto Binder. Otto Binder, famous science fiction author and comic writer. He wrote so much through the 50s and 60s. A lot of Batman and other things. But one of the things about this is, I'm wondering if the villain in this one, because there's an original villain in here, who was the he was from the future. When I went back to reread it, I was thinking it was Kang, but it's not Kang. But he's just like Kang, and I believe this was before Kang was introduced in the comics. So I'm wondering if this character might not have been the inspiration for Kang. I don't know. And also about the same time, I found this one. Captain America, The Great Gold Steel by Ted White. And these both have nice painted covers by uncredited illustrators. I like them. Now, one of the things about these that aren't as long. At the time these books were published, it was in the 60s, and come on, Cap, hold up your end. The Doc Savage and the Avenger, both created and mostly written by Kenneth Robeson. Those reprint books from the pulps of the 30s and 40s were very, very popular. Very popular. And I think these books were introduced to try to catch that wave. So much so that if you're familiar with that, even the title design on the Avengers is designed to imitate the look of the title design of the Doc Savage books. And even the cover painting and design is not dissimilar to those cover illustrations. And I think they're hoping someone who's looking for a new Doc Savage or something might pick these up, thinking it's one of those, or seeing that it's similar, give it a try. And I've only seen these a couple of times over the decades. I've had these over 20 years, and I think I've only seen them a couple of times. And unfortunately, they're not in the best shape. They're readable. I was going to do some more too, but this is I'm talking too much, so so I'll say that for another time. And all of this I recommend because they are all fun reads. And I really recommend that if you like to read comics, you would enjoy reading. Oh, one thing I did want to mention about here. One of the things about this Captain America book has part of the basic plot is the same as one of the Die Hard movies when they're stealing all the gold. Same basic plot, and the that's without all the explosions. Well, even had some of the explosions, but in here the origin story of Captain America was a little different. Instead of, well, it's basically the same, but instead of having the super soldier serum and the Vita rays and zap, and pretty soon he's big and muscular and stuff like that. It took place over months. It was a series of injections of some kind of serum and vitamins and surgeries. So he was almost a cyborg because they implanted stuff in his body in this story. So that is different. It's really the only real difference. It's more realistic, but it's different from the comic. Okay, that's what I wanted to tell you about that. Thank you for joining me. Please like, share, subscribe. If you have friends who might be interested in the comic book characters, but not interested in reading the comics, share this video with them, please, so if they know that there are alternatives out there. And this is, I'm just focusing on Marvel's properties. There are lots of DC and some books of original superhero characters. So please like, share, subscribe, leave a comment, and remember, even if there are no pictures at all, comics are art.